What will Iran's revenge look like? How will Tehran respond to Israel's largest ever strike on Iran? Western observers worry that Tehran could see no other option but to accelerate its nuclear program. So, is there any truth to these concerns? Will Iran really go nuclear? That is what we are focusing on tonight. And here's why these questions come up. You see, 4 weeks after Iran attacked Israel with a barrage of ballistic missiles to avenge the strikes on ally Hezbollah, Israel responded at the time of its choosing, just like it promised to. Now, Iran says it is ready to respond to what it is calling an act of aggression. In response, the Israeli army has warned Iran that it will pay a heavy price if it begins a new round of escalation. The tensions never simmered in the region. In fact, the violence has become pretty routine. First an attack, then the side that was hit assesses the damage, then the wait to see how they respond. It's happening once again, only this time the tensions have taken a whole new turn in West Asia. And here's what I mean by that. When the Israeli fighter jets made their 1,000-mile run to Iran on Friday, they headed for two major sets of targets: Iran's air defenses and a giant fuel mixers that make propellant for Iran's missile fleet. That was a surprise element. According to reports, Israeli strikes hit a dozen or so fuel mixers and took out the air defenses that protected several critical oil and petrochemical refineries. What purpose does that solve, you ask? You see, without the capability to mix fuel, Iran cannot produce more of the type of ballistic missiles that its forces fired on Israel on the 1st of October. Not just that, it could take more than a year to replace them from Chinese and other suppliers. By Saturday, Israeli and American officials were calling the strikes a major success. But behind that chest thumping, you see, was a big worry. With Iran's Russian-produced air defenses blown to smithereens, there is fear among American observers that Tehran may decide that they have only one defense left. That is, racing for an atomic weapon. You see, the site where Israel struck was not just a site of missile production, but it was also a site linked to Iran's nuclear program. I'm talking about a secretive military base called Parchin Base, where the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, suspects Iran in the past conducted tests of high explosives that could trigger a nuclear weapon. Remember the UN nuclear watchdog, Western intelligence agencies and Israel fear about Iran's nuclear program. Just to clarify here, Iran has long insisted that its nuclear program is peaceful and that there are no current indications that Iran is weaponizing its nuclear program. But with the way things are unfolding in the region, American and Israeli observers are concerned that Tehran might finally cross the threshold. And that's exactly what American strategists have been trying to avoid for a quarter century. They have used sabotage, cyber attacks, and of course diplomacy to keep Iran from crossing the threshold to become a full nuclear-armed power. In fact, US President Joe Biden, who had publicly warned Israel 3 weeks ago to not hit Iran's nuclear sites, seemed satisfied for once that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had listened to him.
It's like I had a long reason we're a little late. I was on with the intelligence community for the last half hour, 3.5 hours. And it looks like they didn't hit anything other than military targets. My hope is this is the end.
You hear what he said? I hope that this is the end. But is that likely? We would say that an end is highly unlikely at the moment. Biden has ordered American troops in the region to be on higher alert, especially those in Iraq and Syria, as they could be targets for Iranian retaliation. Last week, American forces put in place an additional air defense unit that had been sent to Israel. Meanwhile, the Gulf has been abuzz with extra squadrons of the F-16s, F-15Es, and A-10 Warthogs. American jets have come to supplement the large existing aerial force in the region. And sure enough, US base in southeastern Syria was reportedly attacked by missiles. According to local media reports, the attack came late on Sunday, but there was no report on the damage or the casualties. Al-Tanf military base. It's a place where the U.S. forces gather. The U.S. has not reacted to the issue yet. No individual or group has claimed responsibility for the attack. There is no other information at this point. According to reports, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is meeting with the top ranks of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in order to determine the next course of action. And it's, of course, tough to say what they would do, but if American media reports are anything to go by, Iran has never been closer to the nuclear threshold. And based on reports from the IAEA, Iran now has enough medium-enriched uranium to produce 3 to 4 weapons. There are reports suggesting that Iran has spent the past 4 years making technical upgrades. And at the same time, the ruling elite of Tehran has also dropped its decades-old insistence that their nuclear program is peaceful. Iran is widely believed to be a threshold nuclear power, capable of further enriching its fuel to make bomb-grade uranium, that too in a matter of days or weeks. Of course, it would take far longer, more than a year, to actually fashion that fuel into a nuclear warhead, but that's assuming that Iran does not get help from its allies like Russia, its biggest customer for drones, and an established nuclear power of the world. And on the other hand, it could take help from North Korea as well. Remember, Iran has worked closely with them on ballistic missile technology. But so far, American officials say they see no evidence of a political decision by the Iranians to race for a weapon. But countries build nuclear weapons when they feel vulnerable. Today, that is exactly what Iran would be feeling. While the consequences of the latest strike are not yet clear, we can say that the violence in West Asia is not winding down anytime soon. In fact, this is just a clear example of how one conflict, the one in Gaza, can expand into new conflicts with unintended consequences and far-reaching implications. It's no longer about who started the fight. If you ask Iran, they will blame Israel naturally, and if you ask Israel, they will blame it on Iran's proxies. Either way, you will get different answers. But this latest strike is also a reminder that the longer conflicts go on, the less likely they are to remain contained. For over a year now, the war in Gaza has raised tensions in the region to a fever pitch. For the first time in many months, Gaza hostage and ceasefire talks in Doha have started. This is the first round of the high-level talks in more than 2 months. A ceasefire would go a long way to reducing these tensions and stopping the spread of violence across the region. But can a ceasefire come before it's too late? Here's hoping. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.